Jim, thank you so much for joining us on another daily show for Roland Garros and for finding the time. We were just chatting about how nice is it not having to travel, but we do miss the Roland Garros, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been great to be home. I live in Orlando, Florida, which is a nice place to be in general, and it's been a great place to be during the pandemic because it's not as dense as some other cities, so it's a little easier to feel a little bit better about things. But I would rather be in Paris right now. It is painful to be sitting at home thinking about what we should all be doing if life were normal. So I miss seeing friends like you and watching history unfold in front of us. I miss the city of Paris. I hope we'll get back later this year. That's obviously a big goal for all of us.
Yeah, like you said, we are still hopeful to be back sometime soon within the next few months. But so what is it exactly the most that you miss about Roland Garros or in Paris in general?
Well, there's just a feeling when I walk onto the grounds, I would imagine it's the same feeling you get. There's something special about that site. It has that link to the past, the history, but it's also in the process of modernizing and the new improvements. Like last year, the court Simone Mathieu, so beautiful. So the gardens over there are spectacular. It's just a warm, comfortable place to be in a place where we've spent so much of our lives. If you think about the amount of time that you spend at these tournaments, these 2-week events over the course of your lives, if you're lucky enough to keep going back year in and year out, it's a good portion. And of course, I miss Paris. I have a strong connection there. I speak a little bit of the language and just love walking that city. So for me, that's what I miss. What about you?
Good question. I miss the general atmosphere. I think to me, Roland Garros been always the most fashionable one. So, like also dressing up nicely for dinners after nice matches and just walking through the city, going to the bakeries in the mornings. That's, I think, one of the things I miss the most. And I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like, okay, this is the time of Roland Garros of the year. And like, almost my body wants to do the things that I'm used to doing in Paris. Like I've been doing crepes with Nutella almost every morning because I have that Roland Garros setup. Do you have something weird like that?
Unfortunately, the options to get a hold of pain au chocolat or croissants or crepes in Orlando is a little bit more limited than some cities. Certainly where I live out towards the airport, so it's pretty rural. So I think those types of pangs will have to just wait. But fortunately, we've been cooking a lot at home, so I can get a good steak au poivre. My wife makes a phenomenal one, so I can get my connection to it a little bit. But nothing can replace, of course, being in Paris. We dream to be back there.
What does the Roland Garros make different to the other Grand Slams?
Well, it looks different, right? Because the court's red, so it has that different look and feel to it. I think there's an intimacy to it as well. That a lot of the courts, the people are up close and personal. Like you mentioned, the fans are very fashionable. It is a very fashion-centric city, and people do dress up there a bit more than maybe some of the other majors. So you get that sort of chic vibe that you feel when you're on the grounds there. And that they also do that amazing Kids Day on the first Wednesday where the kids, they come out of school and they let them in the grounds for free. And that's a very, very different ambiance. You just have a lot more sort of young, palpable energy in the crowd. It's a little bit more unpredictable that day if you play as to how the crowd will react. So there's a lot of things that make Roland Garros unique, that make it stand out. And all the majors have their own certain, niches and things that make them different. But for Roland Garros, I think along with Wimbledon, there's a magical combination of the old and the new that they really marry very well. So that's what makes Roland Garros Roland Garros.
Whenever we see each other, we always have to talk about other players, right? Other results, matches and stuff. But now, finally, we can actually talk about you.
Oh, no,
the 91 and 92 wonderful victories. And yes, we are going to talk about that because obviously winning a Grand Slams and twice in a row, that's something very, very special. So I want you to go back and first of all, tell me which one was more difficult to win, whether it was the first time or the one right after, and just explain the fans what it's like to leave that Grand Slam trophy above your head.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think for me, the first one was more difficult because you're charting on waters you're not familiar with. So I didn't know how I would react in a final or a semifinal. I'd never been past a fourth round of a major before I made the run in 1991. So I was learning new things as the tournament went on, but I also felt like a different player that year. I'd improved a lot. My ranking had improved a lot. So I felt more ready for it, but you just don't know what you don't know, right? So I wasn't sure how I would react when I got to the court in the final. And frankly, I didn't react well. I was playing Andre Agassi in the final, who'd been in a couple Grand Slam finals prior to that. And he was far more relaxed, and I needed a rain delay and a chance to regroup to kind of get my bearings because things were happening too quickly. I was overwhelmed by the moment because it's a huge moment to play there for the first time. My emotions were taking over and not allowing me to sort of think or see clearly on the court. So that was more difficult for me. I was more comfortable when I came back as a defending champion, having been in a few finals by then. It was more about just playing a tennis match as opposed to trying to overcome two things. One, a great opponent in Andre Agassi, and then the history that you're trying to make. Once I won the match, that was an amazing shot of adrenaline. I mean, you won big tournaments. You know what that moment feels like.
Slam, so.
Yeah, but they feel similar. I mean, that moment when you've put all that effort in for that period of time in that tournament and it comes to fruition and you've done it and you get your hands on that trophy is a magical one. And it was a special place for me to do it too. American men had not had a lot of success prior to Michael Chang. So Michael had sort of paved the way for us, believing that we could win Grand Slams, and he'd done it there. So that was kind of nice to piggyback on top of what he did. And it was special. And, I look down, every year we watch Rafa win, of course, and we watch, whoever's going to win on the women's side, whether it's Simona or whoever's winning. And they have that magical moment with the trophy. And those are those special moments that, they're very fleeting. They don't happen often, even for the greats, even for Serena winning 23. I mean, that's 23 moments, when you think about how many days you're alive, that's a small portion of your life, but boy, it leaves a mark. And those are wonderful memories to carry.
Okay, just one more question about going back to your wins, and I asked this everyone that has been able to lift the Roland Garros trophy. How was your celebration? Because I think it's something that fans sometimes think that there are these amazing parties and stuff like that, but we all know how tired we are at the end of the tournaments, and so I just want to see how it looked like for you.
Yeah, mine was wonderful. We had a private room at a restaurant that my manager, Gavin Forbes, put together. So we had a nice small group of people that went. We had a beautiful dinner, excellent time. The world changes the first time you win a tournament like that. Your world is shifting underneath your feet. You're not even fully aware of it. But we had a really good celebration. I was pretty tired because it was a 5-set match and all the emotion. And you know how that feels when the adrenaline leaves you too. It's that can be draining in and of itself. So I woke up pretty tired the next day and had to do a whole bunch of media because they want to get you on TV shows and all that stuff and take advantage of the momentum that they have. So it was a pretty frenetic, frenzied time, and it was a lot of fun. And normally you would fly back the day after, but I stayed an extra day in Paris. And the next night was more of a mellow, just a few people, small, quiet dinner. And then you could start to, get comfortable with the new world that you were living in. But it was a great time. We had a blast.
Jim, thank you so much for your time and chatting to us on the Daily Show. And I hope we get to see each other very soon, somewhere in the world, wherever that's going to be, and that we get to do our work sooner than later.
Hope so. Hopefully the U.S. Open will do it, and that'll bleed right into going over to Paris and getting back to it. So it's great to see you, Danny. Thanks for having me on the show. And hi to all my friends at Roland Garros. Can't wait to see you next time.